Greetings, everyone, and welcome to my GTA 3 all-inclusive tutorial as of the 17th of January 2019. In typical fashion, I will try and make this as extensive as possible using perspectives from all sorts of top-level runners. Not me, because I'm not a top-level runner. I just like making the guides, they're pretty fun. And of course, again, in typical fashion, it'll probably be outdated within a week. But I figured I would make it all in kind of one big, lengthy video with timestamps for the correct routes and stuff. Because if you guys, I assume that if you're watching this, that'll mean you're a beginner looking to get into GTA 3 speedrunning. And what you may not know if you haven't watched a lot of different runners play the game is that there's all sorts of different routes that you can do that vary in difficulty. I'm going to show you what I believe to be the easiest one that you should learn as a beginner and how to reset as little as possible using strats that are slightly slower but will make it so you need to be less lucky, essentially. Whereas a lot of the world record strats rely on a lot of randomness at the start, especially. And then I will show you the routes afterwards, such as the ones done in the world record video, and a couple of other routes that involve different strats, just so you can pick and choose which ones you want once you get better at the game. As you can see right now, we're on the eBen archive, which is like a website that I made in order to have links to everything that you would ever need in order to get into speedrunning for like all the different GTA games. So you see there's like Vice City, San Andreas stuff. GTA 5, shit like that. And a couple of things that I wanted to quickly go over that you may need if you're playing. I'm going to assume you're playing the Steam version of this game. It's the only one that I've ever used, so I can't really say for retail versions or, other sources. But some things that you'll most likely need, if not always need, for the Steam version is this particle fix. Because on the Steam version, for some reason, all the cars are much darker than usual, and replacing this will fix it. So if you don't know where to replace it, it's just in your GTA 3 folder, and then go into models. You'll have a particle.txt. Just delete that, download this one, and then replace it, and then that should fix the problem. If it doesn't, I've got a GTA 3 1.1 exe there that I've had it before where people have said that the particles.txt hasn't fixed the problem. It happened to me once for some odd reason, but then using the different exe fixed it. I wouldn't recommend using that exe because it's like a cracked exe. So if you can, use the particle fix. If not, then it's not technically against the rules, but it's just a bit shady. There's also different things like skin packs and stuff. These quick saves and these mods you're not allowed to use in runs, but they might be useful for practice. And the on-mission changer, which we'll kind of get into later if you don't know exactly how the on-mission variable works. If you have played games such as like Vice City before or watched my other tutorials, you'll probably know a lot of how duping works. And a lot of it carries over in GTA 3 with some minor changes. So I wouldn't recommend skipping all the way to the end where I actually start showing the route off, just in case you miss something, because there is some changes in GTA 3 that might screw you over if you don't know about them. And then the final thing is that some people, I know I've had this issue before, when you pause the game, there'll be like a really annoying pop. That seems to happen with OBS specifically, when you're like recording or streaming the game. There's a guide that I've got here on how to fix that. It requires some codec shenanigans, but it's pretty easy to do. I believe it's just installing this, if I remember correctly, but it's been a while. So yeah, there's no Japanese version or anything like that you need to set up like you would in VC. The rest is just keybinds. So we'll go into that section now. Alright, so when you start this game up originally, one of the first things you may notice is that if you see at the bottom right, it's kind of small, but the game is currently running at about 4,000 frames per second. And that can sometimes make your menu transparent. Now, the reason that happens is just because the frame limiter isn't, even though if you have the frame limiter, you see how my it's kind of a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Transparent. Even if you have the frame limiter on, which is here, as you can see I have it on, it's not actually limiting the frames of the game until you actually go into it. So if you just want to make it easier on yourself, you can just like start a new game, and then when you actually pause the game now, it will be limited properly. So you see it's at 30 frames now, and now the menu works correctly. So a couple of things I guess I should also mention that you want to change is, of course, you want to have the frame limiter on because it's required for the rules. I'd recommend turning trails off, because if you have them on, as you can see, it kind of like adds a weird effect to the game. I don't personally like it, but I guess you can leave it on if you really want to. So I turn those off. Subtitles, whatever. Widescreen, leave off, because if you turn it on, you'll have an issue where, even though if you're playing in widescreen, like I play in 1600 by 900, it might make sense to have widescreen on. But if you turn it on and you shoot, it won't line up with your crosshair. So Claude will be shooting in a completely different place. That also happens with Vice City. I don't know if it does with the other games, but just leave it off, trust me. The game works fine without it. Everything else I think is like normal, I would say. I don't think there's anything interesting in the... No, I don't think there's anything interesting in here. I think that's all just default. So, keybinds. A couple of things you're going to want. Obviously, this depends on, like, I guess, preference. But a couple of things that you're going to want. You're going to want submission on a comfortable key that you can hold for quite a long period of time. Because in this route, there's going to be a set of tricks where you're going to be holding the submission through a mission. So you're going to have to complete a mission while holding a button and not letting go. Personally, I use caps lock simply because it's convenient, because I can bind it to my mouse using the Logitech software as like a macro. So you see if I press my mouse button now, it'll press caps. You can see at the top left, which is convenient. But it's up to you. You can have it bound to whatever you want, essentially, as long as it doesn't impair your other binds, like don't set it to W or something, you know? So everything else, I think, is kind of up to you, if I remember correctly. So I've got submission on caps lock, and then I've also got look behind on caps lock. I don't actually use that, but I remember in Vice City, you need caps lock, not caps lock, look behind and submission set to the same bind in order to hold submissions properly. I don't remember if that's the case in GTA 3 as well. I'll quickly test it. Okay, so after a quick test, I was indeed right. You need to have submission, the same as in VC if you guys have played that, just so people who've done it already can skip ahead. And look behind on foot to be set to the same key, whatever that can be. Again, I use caps lock, it's completely up to you. Also, something to mention is that look behind in a vehicle is... I think it's look behind on foot is middle mouse by default. But then, as you can see, look behind in a vehicle, you can't bind it necessarily. It says that you have to do like a combination of looking left and looking right, which would usually be Q and E by default to look behind, right? But then, as long as you don't bind submission to something else, you can still use middle mouse to look behind. So if you're wondering why some people can use middle mouse to look behind and you can't, I actually discovered this only yesterday. So yeah, it's not exactly something that you would figure out on your own. That's why. If you reset your binds, you can use middle mouse to look behind, which is a lot easier than pressing Q and E and trying to drive at the same time with WAS and D. So I think that's it for binds that you need. Everything else is just preference. Change camera in a vehicle specifically. It doesn't matter actually, because you can't have different binds depending on whether you're on foot or a vehicle. It'll change for both. But make sure you have something comfortable that you can press to change camera with. By default, it's C. I moved it to V just so I can press it with my thumb a bit easier. But just make sure you have something comfortable, because you're going to need to use the camera a lot in this game. And you'll see why pretty soon. Alright, so I've specifically picked this video by Rock, even though it's an old PB, because it's a really good showcasing of almost the like most safe route you can use. Now when he goes for PBs, he has a much better time by a couple of minutes, but he uses a more advanced route, which I'll show off later. But this, for me, in my opinion, is like a really good showcasing of how to execute the really safe route and still get a really good time. Like if you can pull a 108 with this, you're in like the top 10, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, we'll get this going and then I'll explain things as I go. Figured I'd leave that flip in there. It's pretty good. So one quick thing to note is there's actually a timing change since this route was done. The timer actually starts not when you skip the cutscene here, but actually when the loading bar disappears. So the timer would start there, rather than where he does it, where he watches the cutscene for a little bit. So if you're doing runs now, just make sure to skip the cutscene as quickly as you can. Otherwise, you'll lose a couple of seconds, maybe. So one of the first things you're going to see Rock do while he does his first mission, which is like really self-explanatory, you just drive to the club, is you can see he goes into the top-down camera. Now, remember when I said that you're going to be using the top-down camera quite a lot? The reason for that is specifically is that it despawns traffic. So every time you switch to the top-down camera, it will despawn traffic in front of you. So rather than having to deal with random angry drivers and guys who will cut you off and lane switches and all that shit, just turn to the top-down camera, and as you can see, he doesn't have any traffic on the road whatsoever. So that's really nice. And then the rest of this mission is just simple dealing with driving the correct way. Try, if you can there, like Rock did. This is actually like much harder than it needs to be. But you can grind off the door in order to prevent Claude having to open it and close it every time he goes, to exit or enter a vehicle. But if you do have the door, if you hold the horn button, which is usually like sprint by default, when you get into a car, you can skip the closing animation as well. So he pulls up in a nice place where Claude and 8-Ball can... He's pulled up at a 90-degree angle so he can turn back to go towards Luigi's place without having to reverse. And then this is just a simple tutorial. You don't need to do anything interesting here. Just get back in the car as he does in the cutscene. And then when he pulls up here to Luigi's club, he's going to do another strat, which is if you double tap escape quickly to pause and unpause the game, like that, it will like kill your momentum, so the game will think you've stopped in the marker. So it's really easy to like go full speed into a marker and then stop. Because in this game, you have to fully stop in markers for them to activate, unlike some ones in like SA, for example, where you can just drive into them. So there's a couple of things you're going to need. As you can see, Rock is looking for a taxi right now. A taxi or a cabbie both work. And the other thing you're going to need is a pistol. Now, this taxi you can get here really commonly. That's why Rock is looking for one now. But you, ideally, if you want to be as optimal as possible, you need to get it before you drive to the docks during Don't Smack My Bitch Up, because you're going to leave the taxi at the docks and then pick it up later for a strat. If you don't get it, there's a fixed cabbie spawn quite nearby. So don't bother about resetting on getting good luck like this. Well, it's not even good luck. It's pretty unlucky to not get a taxi. But if you don't, then don't worry. I'll show you how to deal with that later. Regarding the pistol, you don't need to have it until Farewell Chunky Lee Chong, which is quite a while from now. So just whenever you're driving around places like this, there'll be like triads and mafia guys or whatever else. Just look out for guys with guns or cops or anything like that. Just people with weapons. And at any point, just run them over and take their gun. So Rock is also knocking off the door there. And then he's going to make his first replay. Now, replays in this game, if you're assuming you're completely new to GTA speedrunning, replays are insanely broken. Because what you can do is you can manipulate the on-mission variable, which is simply whether you're in like free roam mode or mission mode. And you can manipulate that flag in order to basically be on a mission while the game thinks you're not on a mission. And that may not seem useful, but there's a lot of really useful things that you can do with it. For example, you can duplicate missions, so you can start a mission, then change your on-mission variable to 0 again, and then you can start the mission a second time. And that will have all sorts of crazy side effects that will allow you to do some really cool strats, which I'll show you later on. And there's also things like Instapasses, which you'll see very soon, which is just like doing a setup so you can start a mission and then pass it instantly, which is obviously really useful and really fast because it means you don't actually have to do the mission. So the easiest way in GTA 3 that's like, you know, practical for runs is to use the rampage system, because rampages in this game, they manipulate your on-mission variable. So if you pick up a rampage, you are then on mission 1. When you fail or pass the rampage, you go back to on mission 0. So submissions in this game, like paramedic, taxi, vigilante, whatever else, they also manipulate your on mission flag. So if you start the taxi submission, you're on mission 1. If you then exit the taxi, you're on mission 0. So as you might, if you can already kind of guess where I'm going with this, you can activate some of those at the same time in order to kind of like flip your on-mission variable back and forth, which will be very useful later. So what Rock just did was he saved a replay over where he is now, and that is an M16 rampage location. You can't see it because you can't see rampages or anything like that when you're on mission 1, but just trust me, it's there. It's just in this corner right here. I'll show it again really quick. It's about there, so you can see he's like pressed the replay. I'll go a couple of frames back. There you go. So just in that corner. So the way you make a replay in this game, it's not the same as in Vice City. You can do this in Vice City, but you can't do the Vice City way in 3. What you need to do is you need to press F2, F3, F1, and then wait about half a second or two, and then press F2. So what you're essentially doing is you're clearing the replay cache, which you'll need to do every attempt, because if you play a replay from a previous playthrough, it counts as New Game Plus, and you won't be allowed on the leaderboard. So make sure to press F2, it's very important. So F2 to clear your cache, F3, F1, which is going to make a replay of you like standing on the location, and then F2 to save it. The reason you want to wait a bit before the final F2 press is because pickups in this game only register that you've picked them up every 6 frames or so, if I remember correctly. So if you make a replay that is like really short, then there's a chance that you can not pick up the icon in the replay because like of frame cycles and some of the technical bullshit that I'm not going to go into because it's, you know, it's fucking boring. But just make sure that you make a replay that's long enough that you can pick it up. Also for reference, you can make rather than making a standing replay, if you're not sure how to, like where a specific icon is, you can make a walking replay. Now what that is you're pressing F2, F3, F1, and then all the movement you do before pressing F2 will be saved. So if you press F2, F3, F1, and then walk into the alleyway, walk into the corner, walk back again, and then press F2, the next time you press F3 to play the replay, it will show Claude walking, it'll, you know, show a replay of what you just did. So that will allow you to cover as much ground as possible, rather than standing on the specific spot if you don't know where it is. But for this one, this is the specific spot, so you don't need to do that. But just for reference later, because you might need it. Alright, so real quick, here's just a quick little visual reference as to how to actually do walking replays. Just in case, you know, the actual explanation doesn't work for you, I'm just going to quickly show you how to actually do it. So the same replay here, which is the M60 rampage, you would usually obviously press F2, F3, F1, F2, right? And when you press F3, it'll show you just standing there. But if I don't know exactly where the rampage is, I just know it's somewhere here. What I can do is I can press F2, F3, F1, and then walk in this general direction like that. Make sure I press over it, then press F2. And then when I press F3, as you can see, it will show me walking over the replay. So that's just a quick little guide on how to do it in case that wasn't already obvious. So he saves the replay. And then this is just picking up Misty. So remember to be on the lookout for, you know, cops or gang members as you take her back. Be careful not to crash as well. So right there were two, you see this guy here on the right hand side. That guy would drop a gun because he's part of like the mafia or whatever it is. And there's also another one right there. But Rock didn't choose to go for them because they're kind of out of the way. But if you're starting out and you're scared that you're not going to get one later, then you can just kill those guys, for example. But Rock is obviously confident enough to know that he can deal with them later. A little kind of extra thing you can do there that Rock didn't do is when you pull up into the marker, you can then press F, like, to time it correctly, so Claude will get out during the cutscene, and that will allow you to be on foot for this next section, so you don't have to exit. But he's just, like, rearranging his car, which is fine. You'll see that he's also looking backwards. Now, this is a strat that's, like, technically the fastest way to do this, like, next 5-minute segment or so, but it requires on you getting lucky with a cop car. Now, you're always going to need to get lucky with a cop car because, one, it's really fast, and two, it gives you a shotgun, which is really useful. But this way, you have to get one really early. It's kind of complicated to explain, but like I'll let this mission kind of continue, as it's also kind of self-explanatory as I go along. So right now, if you want to do this strat that's like the fastest possible but relies on getting lucky, what he's doing is he's holding taxi right now. So whatever your submission was, as you finish Luigi's Girls, you would then, before you get out of the taxi, you would then hold submission. So he is holding whatever his button is, caps lock now or whatever, this whole time. As you can see, he's still looking backwards. So you kill the guy there, and then you see how he like parked his taxi deliberately. This is what I meant before when I said why you want a taxi, because you want to leave it there. He also deliberately parked it the way he did, because if you, in this game, if you like fail to kill him and he starts running after you, and then you block the door, that will mark the taxi for despawning for some odd reason. So when you come back to the docks, the taxi won't be there. And the whole point of this is that it's supposed to be there. So just be careful to not, like, block the door for any reason. Just do what Rock did there. It's nice. But yeah, so if you want to do the more consistent strat that's slightly slower, which I would heavily recommend, you don't need to hold taxi here. You can just drive as normal, but this is what the big boys do, essentially. So now you just take this car back to go and get paint sprayed. While you're doing this mission, you'll probably notice that this car, this stallion specifically, drives like it's on fucking ice. That's completely normal. It's just something to do with the game. But yeah, it's really annoying and hard to get used to. So you'll see that as Rock drives back and finishes his mission, he'll then immediately start the rampage on mission 0 using taxi. You don't need to do this, but again, it's the faster strat. So what he just did there was, he's still holding taxi, right? So because he just finished that mission, he's on mission 0, but he's holding taxi. So that means that if he lets go of taxi, he will then, like, or let go of caps lock, he will, like, he will finish his, like, taxi instance because he was holding it from before. So now, if he presses F3 to play that replay he made earlier that I was talking about, the M16 one, while still holding caps lock, And then when the rampage activates, he lets go of caps lock. He goes on mission 1 because he started the rampage, but then because he finished taxi, he goes on mission 0. So now he's on a rampage, but he's not actually on a mission. Whereas usually if you start a rampage, you would be on mission 1. So you see here, he'll finish taxi. And now, as you can see, he still has the mission icons, which means he's on mission 0. Again, you don't need to do this. This is just something that is required for like world record runs, because you want to start the rampage as quickly as possible. As soon as you start the rampage, you then have 2 minutes to complete the next mission, which is Drive Misty for me, and start Mike Lips' last lunch while Vigilante is running. We'll get to that later, don't worry about that. Sounds pretty complicated, but it's not too hard. So again, the reason this saves time is because you want to start this rampage as quickly as possible. But if, like me, and you're a pussy and you don't want to rely on having good luck, because right here you need to basically RNG a cop car or something on the road, you can just do a different strat, which requires you to get slightly less lucky. Now, as you can see there, Rock did a thing called a mega jump. Now, mega jumping, I have no idea why it works. I just know how it works, and that you should have the same thing. So essentially what he did was, there's 2 different ways to do it. The first one is to jump, and then as you land, you press jump again, then F1, double tap F1 to play a replay quickly, and you will launch in a certain direction. The other way to do it is by like attacking, which is like either punching or shooting like he did there. You press attack, jump, and then double tap F1 in like a quick sequence. I have a video on how to mega jump with like inputs on the screen, so you can see exactly how you do it, that I'll link in the description. But it's all about just timing. You'll get it. It's not too hard. But it's very useful because obviously, as you can see, it lets you fly around the map, basically. One thing to note is that because you fly at such speeds, you can kill yourself doing it. As you can see here, Rock does it at a wall, and that will like kill your momentum. But if you just do it on a straight road, you'll die. So be very careful about that. You need to like break your fall somehow, either using like a wall or something like that. Something to slow you down, essentially. So the next thing, if you are doing the fast strat that you need to do, is grab the information pickup. Both strats grab the information pickup, but you only do it now if you're doing the fast strat. What you need to do is every time you die, or the first time you die, excuse me, there'll be like a little cinematic that says like, you know, when you die, this happens, you lose your weapons, blah blah blah. And then when you like activate that, as you can see, one of the cop cars is despawned, and the ambulance is also despawned. And the first time you die in this, you don't want that to be despawned. You want them both there. So you want to grab that information pickup now. But if you're doing the slow strat, you want to grab a cop car first, because that's like your main priority right now, is getting a cop car. So this is where like the RNG comes in. So the fast strat is basically jumping around like this on a timer until either a cop spawns like that, and you'll get a guaranteed cop car because you get 2 stars. Also, that's where Rock grabs the pistol. Or you can do the slow strat, which is, I guess I can show you on my PB. Give me a second. Alright, so this is my PB from like ages and ages ago. And this will show you like the more consistent way to deal with this. So I'm not holding taxi or anything. What I do is just mega jump. You don't need to do that. And then I'm just going to look for either a cop or a cop car. But if not, then you can just grab this fixed spawn. As you can see, there is a 70% chance that these will be locked. So it's still kind of random, but it's much more likely that you'll get one of the fixed spawns than you will dealing with, having to like RNG one on the road, pretty much. So if you're doing the like more consistent strat, which again I would recommend, what you need to do is as soon as you get a cop car, whether it be from the road or from the fixed spawns, you then immediately rampage start using Vigilante rather than Taxi, which, as I mentioned before, is just hold submission. So hold Vigilante in this case, which is like caps lock. Then press F3 to start the rampage, and then cancel Vigilante by pressing caps again. Vigilante is slightly different because in Vigilante you can't just get out of the car to cancel it like you can with Taxi or Paramedic or whatever else. Because in Vigilante, if you get out of the car, like if I were to get out of the cop car now, or while I'm on Vigilante, wherever it is, give me a second. You see, I made my replay pretty short here. So now I'm on Vigilante while also on the rampage. If I were to get out of the car now, I wouldn't cancel Vigilante because there's like a minute grace period where like there's a timer that says like get back in the car in the next minute, otherwise you're fired or something. So you need to actually press caps lock again. So you can actually see my keybinds in the top left, which might make it easier. So we'll go back a second. So you get in, then you hold middle mouse, which was at my time the submission variable, submission keybind even. Then you press F3 and then press whatever your submission is again. And now you grab the information pickup rather than doing it earlier like you would in the fast strat. So if you don't grab that information pickup, as I said before, you can still, like it's not the end of the world, but it just means you have to get luckier because you only have one cop car spawn the next time you need a cop car. Alright, so back to Rock's PB. So whichever strat you've done, you'll be on the same kind of route here. What you need to do now is before this rampage runs out, you need to complete Drive Misty for me, make another replay, and then start Vigilante, and then start my clips just as it runs out. Which, again, sounds complicated, but it really isn't. So right here, you need to sound the horn in order to get Misty to come out. If you do that and then immediately exit the vehicle, like I mentioned before, she will run to you instead of walking, which will give you more time to, obviously, makes the timing a bit more lenient. So again, Rock is despawning traffic whenever he can. Sometimes you can't avoid getting dick, sometimes it happens. So this might seem like a weird route he's taking, but that's because he's going to make another replay right now. Halfway down this alleyway, there is a shotgun rampage. But again, because you're on a mission, you can't see it. But an easy reference to figure out where this one is if you look, there's like cracks, like here, here, and here on the alleyway. If you count this crack as the first crack, it's between the third and fourth. So this is where you're going to make a walking replay. So that's the first crack, that's the second crack, that's the third crack. So halfway in between here and here, you just want to park your police car. And then you want to hop out, and then you want to press F2, F3, F1, like Rock just did there, and then just walk back and forth like this, and then press F2 to save the replay. That will then save the replay of Claude walking back and forth to make sure you definitely pick up the icon. So now you just finish the mission as always. Be careful not to park in a weird way, like too close or anything, because you can despawn your cop car, which is bad. So then you just hop back in, you start Vigilante, because the way you Instapass Mike Lips's last lunch is just to have Vigilante running while you start the mission. So you start Vigilante, hop out, and then the rampage is going to end, which then puts you on mission 0 Vigilante, which allows you to start Mike Lips's last lunch while Vigilante is running. You skip the cutscene, and then bam. You just wait, and Farewell Chunky Lee Chong starts. So you've now insta-passed Mike Lips's last lunch. You skip the entire mission. So this is why, you know, the replay system and stuff is very useful, like I mentioned before. Because that mission is quite long and quite annoying, and you just skip it entirely. So this is why we wanted the pistol earlier. When you pick up a pistol, you get 9 bullets. You only need about 5 or 6 to kill Chunky. So instead of walking up and like triggering a cutscene where you have to like chase him, you can just shoot him from here, which is really nice. And then if you'll notice, there is a like a timer here. This is a Vigilante timer. Don't worry about this. Like, it doesn't mean anything. It'll just run out on its own eventually. Something to note that if you use certain submissions to Instapass missions, like we just do Vigilante here, you can't use Vigilante anymore. It's completely dead. So if you press the button, nothing will happen. So we're going to basically kill like all of the submissions in this game, which is going to be pretty good. So you need to be careful with what you use and don't use. Also to mention really quick while Rock does Van Heist, if you don't get a pistol or whatever, don't reset because of it. Like, just go and kill him normally with the shotgun. Like, just trigger the cutscene or whatever. So, in Van Heist, there are two different patterns. If you see here on the road, he can either turn here. I don't know if you can see this very well. Yeah, I think you can. But he can either turn west on this road here, which is what he does, or he can continue going north. If you see that he continues going north, you should cut through this little alleyway here instead. This one here, because it'll like line you up to right where he is. But if you see that he's hitting the brakes here on the map, then go left, because he'll be turning this way. This is the bad pattern. Him going north is much better, because you need to go east after the mission, or after you do this section. So obviously going west is always bad. So you want to park about this distance away. It's fairly lenient, but it's better to be too close than... it's better to be too far away than too close. Because if you're too close, you'll just blow the van up, which is mission failed. But this distance is fine. And what you want to do is just get out of the cop car and shoot it with the shotgun. And that will allow you to get the guy out of the van. Also, be careful for cops. Because cops can spawn really commonly there. And if you get in the van and a cop comes to bust you, then you're basically screwed. Like, you can't drive away fast enough. You'll just get busted. So if you do see a cop running after you, shoot him once. The reason for that is because when you have a 1-star wanted level, they'll try and like bust you by like running after you and punching you. But if you shoot him once, you'll get a 2-star wanted level, and then he'll try and shoot you instead, which means that he won't come and bust you instantly. So it gives you time to get away in the van. So on the way back here, as you'll see, the taxi is still there. You can bonk it in order to just, get it a bit closer. But be careful with doing that, because you might, like, if your van is already on low health, that bonk might, like, set it over the edge and set it on fire. So, yeah, just be careful about that. Also, if you do manage to, like, if you bump the van and it'll set him off and he'll become angry, then you can just do the super old strat, which is only like 30 seconds slower or whatever, which is basically to like park yourself in front of it so he keeps ramming into you and it'll do more and more damage. And then that'll allow you to beat the mission. So as you can see, the taxi is important here. If you didn't get a taxi, then just to the northeast of where Rock is right now, on this little corner, there'll be like a fixed cabbie. So you can grab that and use it as normal if you did lose your taxi for whatever reason. But so what he did now was, because he can't use Vigilante to submission start anything anymore, he's going to use the taxi instead. So again, he's holding taxi, pressing F3, and then just letting go. When he exits the vehicle, it will kill taxi off and he'll have the on mission 0 shotgun rampage that he made earlier. Obviously, again, because it isn't Vigilante and it's taxi instead, when you get out, it'll just fail taxi immediately, so you don't have to press the extra button. So now he's starting Kipriani's chauffeur with an on mission 0 taxi rampage, shotgun rampage. So you need to be kind of careful here, because you need to finish this mission and start taking out the laundry before the 2-minute timer runs out. And it's kind of tight, especially when you first start running this, because you also need to make a replay here. So pull up here, get out. Make sure to hold shift when you're jumping, because it'll like give you some extra distance. and then make the replay here. I like to stand on this little seam if you really want a reference. But again, just standing replay, F2, F3, F1, F2. Then hop back in. Despawn traffic if you're unsure. And then go in and pause, double tap pause. This is technically slower. You don't actually have to do this, but most people do it because it gives you more leeway. But if you're really confident, you don't have to do that pause strat. You can just slow down in the marker as normal. So you have this cutscene, you drive off, you turn right here, head all the way up. You can keep in top-down camera here since it's a straight line. Then turn left. And then here, it's really important that you go over this little bump and then make sure you're facing west when you get into the marker. And also, as you can see, Rock did there, he did the F input once he fully stopped, which will allow you to get out of the car in the cutscene. The reason you want to face west is so Tony can easily walk in to the marker. So you start taking out the laundry once. And then this is the mission where the 3 vans come along and you have to destroy them. But we're not going to do that because it's kind of random where they are and you can get really bad patterns and stuff like that and you can lose a lot of time to it. So instead, we're just going to do what I mentioned before where you dupe missions and then, yeah, well, I'll go a bit more into it as he shows it off. But as you can see there as well, when he started the mission, he then walked out and back into where the marker's going to be again. If you don't do that, the marker won't activate because you can't like be in the same place. You have to like walk out and enter the marker again. The same goes for jumping. You can't jump into markers. If you like jump into a marker or like fall into it, then it won't activate. You have to like run into it essentially. So what Rock's doing here is while the rampage is running out, he's setting up he's shooting the Mafia Sentinel in order to blow himself up because he's going to kill himself once he starts the mission again. So the shotgun rampage is going to run out, then he's going to start taking out the laundry a second time. Now, you may think again, why is this useful? Well, as you can see, when he kills himself, the mission passes. The reason that happens is because when you start 2 instances of this mission and then kill yourself, one of those instances will fail because you died, right? You failed the mission. But then once you fail that first instance, a thing called mission cleanup will be ran. That's something that happens within the game. And essentially, at the end of each mission cleanup commands will be run in order to like despawn all the assets to do with the missions. So like any extra pedestrians, any leftover cars or anything like that will be despawned. So what that mission cleanup does is it gets rid of the other vans. So you've duped the mission, right? Then you kill yourself and it removes the vans because, you know, you've died, so it despawns the vans, right? But then because you started the mission twice, that second instance is still running. So the vans despawn because of mission cleanup. And then the game goes, oh, well, the vans have gone. So you've clearly passed that second instance. So then the second mission instance passes when you die. And that allows you to essentially pass the mission. Like, without even doing anything. So here is the second time where you're going to need to get a cop car. This is what I mentioned before, why you want to grab the information pickup. Because if you don't, then you'll only have 1 cop car here and no ambulance. So again, just go for the fixed spawns. If you get unlucky, just like mega jump and kill yourself. The same goes for, actually, I should have mentioned just a bit before. When you dupe taking out the laundry, you can, as I mentioned before with mega jumping, you can kill yourself really easily. If you just like jump into a straight wall, then you can just die really easily rather than having to like set up with the car. So when he was duping the mission here, you can just run out onto the pavement to the south here and then just kill yourself instead. So look for a cop car, because you'll want the shotgun for the pickup. And then go ahead and start it. And then this mission, there's not really much to it. It's just driving to the destination. And then killing a bunch of guys with the shotgun, then leaving again. Make sure when you park, you don't park too close to around this area, because if you do, a fish van is going to spawn when you pick up the briefcase here, and it's going to despawn your cop car. So make sure you like park on this side of the road, like what Rock's doing. Like in the middle is fine. So the cutscene starts, these guys come and bum rush you, but you have a shotgun, so it doesn't matter. As you can see, that's where the fish van spawns. So you want to sprint towards the fish van and turn around. There'll be these 3 guys here. You can try and get them all in one shot, but it doesn't really matter if you don't. Then you can just kill these last 2 guys. Grab the pistol and then push into this fish van, and then kill this last guy.
Oh really?
Oh really? That's pretty unlucky from Rock there. It's not usual that this guy will be a guy there to pull you out. But right here, you want to ideally look for a taxi on this road, because you're going to need either the ambulance or a taxi, and the ambulance can be locked 30% of the time. So if you get unlucky enough, then you'll have to deal with the ambulance. So if you get a taxi like Rock did here, then you can just grab it and you don't have to rely on getting lucky with the ambulance. If you don't get a taxi and the ambulance is locked, then just drive towards the end of the mission and hopefully you'll find one. It's pretty rare that you don't find one. You have to get pretty unlucky for that to happen. Like, if you really, really don't want to reset, and like you really can't find one on the road, then you can go and grab the fixed cabbie that I talked about earlier, but honestly, it's not really worth it. Like, you'll just find one on the road if you look hard enough. So now he's finished the pickup, right? And then he's gonna get back into the taxi and then hold the taxi submission. So he's holding like caps lock or whatever right now, as you can see by him running backwards. What you're gonna want to do is complete this entire mission while holding taxi, so you can start a rampage with it later on. So when you're starting this mission, be sure, absolutely sure, to not let go of your taxi button, whatever it is, caps lock, whatever. Just don't let go. Because if you do, you'll kill the mission script entirely. And that's really bad. So just hold on to it with all you've got. This is why you want it to be in like a really comfortable position. I used to use middle mouse, and God, it was terrible. So I started using caps lock instead. So much better, trust me. So this mission is just like driving around and picking up a bunch of guys. It's quite long, and that's why I'm going to show you in a couple of later different Portland routes, like the world record one, for example. It's it actually instapasses this mission, but instapassing it is kind of hard. So I would never recommend a beginner to do it, but I'll show it in case people want to learn it later on, of course. So in a couple of missions, this one is like where it's the most prominent. If you get a wanted level, you'll need to like get rid of it before you you can like go to certain places. Like I'm pretty sure Luigi's and Tony's place, you need to get rid of your wanted level both times. So there are obviously cop bribes and pay and sprays that you can go to. I'll point out the easiest one to deal with, because this is where you're going to most likely get a wanted level if you are going to get one. So you want to switch to top-down camera here. And that's because when you turn to go into this corner, as you can see, there'll be no pedestrians. Because you don't want pedestrians here. Obviously, because if you hit them, then you might get a wanted level, and if you get a wanted level, then you can't trigger the next part of the mission. However, if you did get a pedestrian for whatever reason, just to the south now, around here, there is an alleyway with a bribe in it. So you can just grab that really quick. It's not a huge deal. So you pick up Tony, blah, 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 and then these guys come after you. Make sure to hug the right wall here, like Rock did. Because otherwise you can get, like, absolutely gangbanged by these guys. Also, you can get, like, boosted by these guys, which can be nice. Like, as you see, this guy's gonna boost Rock up, which is nice. And then make sure to hit these guys in the middle so you can, like, break through them. Now, are you boys and girls ready for some more RNG? Because I sure as hell am. So you skip the mission, and now you're still holding that submission that I told you about all that time ago. So now you just press F3, which starts the rocket rampage, which you made earlier during Cipriani's chauffeur. And then you let go of whatever your submission key is. And that will allow you to get the on-mission 0 rampage. Now, you're going to start Chaperone. Right here. This is actually perfect. Exactly what I wanted. Because when you start this mission, for some odd reason, there are 4 different camera angles where like the camera can be at the start of this mission. And for some unbelievably bizarre reason, if you get this camera angle right here, like bury this one in your mind, because if you get this one, you need to fail the mission and get a different one. Because for some unbelievably odd reason, if you get this camera in specific, this 1 in 4 chance of getting this camera, and then you continue this route, your game will crash when you do an Instapass later on. No idea why, but that's just the way it is. So there are 4 different cameras. Really quick, I'm going to get a forum post up that actually explains this in full so I can show you the different camera angles. Okay, so as you can see here, this is a post by Nick, who's like one of the really like technical experts of this game. This is on a mega thread on speedrun.com, which you can see here if you just go to the forum and then find the Blowfish Instapass one by Carl K. If you scroll down, Nick has a post, which again shows this camera that Rock has right now. And it will cause, if you get this camera, as Nick mentions, your game will crash on an Instapass later on. So this is the camera that's the problem. This camera is fine, this camera is fine, and this camera are all fine. But, so if you get any of those 3 cameras, you're good. If you get this one, you need to do what Rock's about to do. Just hop out and fail the mission. Easiest way is just to blow up the limousine and restart it. It's of course possible that you can get this camera over and over again and your run will just die, but there's not exactly a whole lot you can do about it, unfortunately. I've had it before where I've got 3 crash cams in a row, which is a 1 in 64 chance, and sometimes it really do be like that, you know? But if you get a good camera angle, then you can continue. So just drive to Chico, despawning traffic as you normally would. You need to make another replay here, and you can only really make it if you're on mission 1. So, obviously, if you get really unlucky with crash cams, then you can be on mission 0 here because you're going to run out of time. So it means you won't be able to make the replay during this mission. So what you can do is just, at another point, like, come back and make it. But honestly, like, if you really get that unlucky, then you've probably lost so much time that, you know, you might as well walk outside and get hit by lightning at that point, because it's pretty unlucky. So that replay right there that you just made, again, F3, F1, F2, F3, F1, F2, excuse me. It's just over the other rocket rampage. Because in this game, if you fail a rampage, it can go into a different location. There's 2 different locations that each rampage can be in. So because he now just failed the rocket rampage that he was on before, it will spawn in that location that he just made the replay for. So this is something that's you need to make sure you do as quickly as possible. As soon as this cutscene ends, press F3. Like what Rock does there. Because you need to start this rampage in order to set up a dupe and fail later on. Dupe and fails, if I haven't already mentioned it, what you did for taking out the laundry, you're duping and then failing the mission. Because if you play replays sometimes in certain missions, the AI can kind of be fucked up. And if you wait too long and press F3, like if you press it like now, then there's a chance that the people who are running out of here can get stuck, and that's not good. So when you first start seeing people run out, you want to count to 8. So that's the first guy, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Run over the 8th guy, which is going to be the mafia dude, and then Maria will be the 9th. And now just drive back. I guess something to mention now, like while we've got a bit of time, is that the weather in this game is completely fixed, right? And in certain places, getting rain or fog will be really inconvenient. Now, as you can see here, Rock is at 10 o'clock in the morning and is in-game time here, right? At 11 o'clock, it will start raining because it's fixed. It happens every time. Now, because when you're new to the game, you're usually going to be quite a lot slower than Rock. If you get rain during this, and you're having issues with it, because obviously raining and driving uphill with a slow vehicle can kind of be bad, there is a way that you can skip cycles doing a thing called the weather skip. So essentially what you do is when it gets to 59 here, you would then press F3, F1 really quickly, like this is all while it's at 59. So you press F3, F1, and then F1, F1. Every single time you press F1, F1, it will skip 1 hour of weather. So, for example, here it's 10 o'clock. If you want to skip that rain entirely, because it lasts for 2 hours, you can do F3, F1, 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 F1. And then when it goes to the next hour, it will skip the rain. But because Rock doesn't have to worry about this, because he's fast enough to not get rain during this section, he doesn't bother. But, yeah, if it's something that you're noticing that you're struggling with, like you're getting rain at like more inconvenient times, then you can do that weather skip to skip it. Obviously, that applies for anything. It doesn't matter. Like, you can skip 5 cycles if you want to. You can skip 10. Doesn't matter. Just, you'll have to figure out for yourself how many cycles you need to skip. So, a strat that Rock doesn't do here, that I'll show really quick, is that you shouldn't skip this cutscene immediately. Because when you do, as you can see, Rock is like, it forces you to walk for a really long time. And it's actually faster to watch the cutscene for a little bit. Give me a second here. So this is the current world record for this game right now by Chivu. And as you can see what he does here, he does something very different to Rock. When he gets to the end of Chaperone, he's going to wait until Maria starts talking. And then he's going to skip the cutscene. And that allows you to walk straight away. That is faster than what Rock does in his video. So don't do what Rock's doing. Wait until Maria starts talking, and then skip, and then you can walk all the way. So now, as you can see, he's got about 40 seconds left on his timer. What you're going to do is grab the Mafia Sentinel, and then you're going to set up for another dupe and fail. So, if you have between like 30 and 15 seconds on the rampage, like Rock does here, then you have enough time to make this replay right here, which is going to be the AK-47 rampage. It's like right at the back far wall there. If you're slow or you crash or anything for whatever reason and you don't have that much time, then don't make it just yet, like if you're not confident, because you can just make it later with minimal time loss. What's important is that you get to this marker and start Triads and Tribulations. But because Rock is obviously like, you know, he's decent, then he's got plenty of time. So again, he starts Triad and Tribulations, starts it again, and then he's going to kill himself with the car again. But as I mentioned before, you can just mega jump here. But if you didn't make that replay in time, just before you kill yourself, go and make it. So like you would dupe the mission, and then just go and make it now. Like just grab the Sentinel, go and make it, and then kill yourself with minimal time loss. But again, so mission passed. It works the same reason as it does in taking out the laundry. You've got a bunch of guys that you've got to kill. You fail one instance, it despawns the guys, and it goes, oh, nice, you killed them. So right here, fortunately, you don't need the you don't need to deal with locked cop cars or any of that bullshit. You just have to deal with the locked ambulance. But the locked ambulance is only locked 30% of the time. If it is locked, just kill yourself and try again. Just mega jump. It's your death. And keep trying until you get it. So now you're going to park up this ambulance, and ideally you want to keep this ambulance here all the way through the end of Portland, because then it'll save you having to grab one later. I'll explain, as I have been doing through this whole thing. If something fucks up, then I'll show you how to kind of deal with it later on. But if not, you just want to hold paramedic, the same as you would hold taxi, and then start the rampage, and then let go of paramedic, and then start cutting the grass. So what he just did there is you want to get a taxi for this section. Unfortunately, there's a fixed spawn right there, but it will only spawn if you walk a bit further down the stairs. So as you can see, Rock walks down the stairs a bit, then walks up, and then you want to aim between these two trees here, like the different colored trees. You should be able to see the taxi if it wasn't raining. It probably won't be raining in your game because you'll have missed the rain by this point. And then you just mega jump over. So again, mega jump, click, attack, jump, F1, all in a short sequence. Then you grab the taxi. If it didn't spawn, that means you didn't walk far enough away down the stairs. So now you head down this alleyway. This is the alleyway that I was talking about earlier, by the way, where it has the bribe star for Salvatore's called a meeting. But there's also the other AK-47 rampage spawn here. So you just want to make... it's right here. But what I like to do is just make a moving replay that like walks into it, just so I don't miss it. But it's up to you. But yeah. So Rock just does 2 jumps as a reference. Bam. F2, F3, F1, F2. And again, remember to sprint jump everywhere. And knock off the door. Minor optimizations. Then hop down here. Try not to kill too many people, because you can get busted here pretty easily if you get a wanted level, because you're obviously going to have to wait. So what you're going to do here is you're going to pull up, like this taxi is right here, because if you guys don't know how this mission works, you're usually supposed to let Curly Bob get into that taxi that's in front of you and then tail him to the docks. But because we want to set up for another Instapass, we're going to make this mission as fast as possible. And we're going to pull up, and if we pull up and don't move, like once we've set up like this, and we don't move, then he will instead come to our taxi and we can drive him to his destination. So as soon as he changes directions like that, you see here, I'll show it again. He'll be running and then he'll change directions there. You want to double tap F1. That will make him run to you rather than walk. That's very important because again, this drive from Luigi's to the docks is very important. Like you need to be fast here in order to make it in time for the Blowfish Instapass. So be very careful. Despawn traffic so you don't get screwed over. It's pretty easy to get screwed. And just drive the best you can. Drive to the marker. This cutscene, I believe in Portland, is the first one that you'll need to skip with a different button. In this game, and in Vice City as well, if you're in a vehicle when you enter a cutscene, you can only skip it with drive forward, so W if you're in a vehicle. Obviously, if you want to skip it with on foot, you just use sprint. But when you're in a vehicle, that doesn't work. You have to press W instead. Something to do with the weird console port of this game. So you want to kill Kelly Bob, and then immediately start and hold taxi straight away. So you want to press caps and then hold caps. Like, press it, let go, then press it again and hold it. And that will allow you to, like, hold taxi all the way here. So now the rampage has run out, and you're holding taxi. Now you want to... What you need to do here, in order to make the ambulance stay, like we mentioned before, and not despawn, is you need to do this Instapass and get back into the taxi before the mission failed text comes up. So he's holding taxi, still holding caps lock the whole way. You're going to walk into this marker. Don't let go just yet. Skip the cutscene as fast as you can. Now let go when the screen goes blue like that. And then get back into the taxi before the mission failed thing comes up. Obviously, if you're like concerned about not making it on time, then you can just, instead of parking here, you can just go into where Tony's place is and park right next to the marker to be safe. But again, so he's holding caps, spams, sprint, let go of caps, and then get back in. And that is Blowfish Instapassed. The mission where you have to drive the garbage truck and blow it up inside that base. Instantly passed. So as you can see, your taxi is still there. Good, good. Or your ambulance is still there, excuse me. And now it's time for Bomb the Base. We're getting to the end of Portland, thank God. 1 out of 3 routes that I plan on doing completed. So grab a Mafia Sentinel. Go around the left side of this tree here. So then when you turn, you're perfectly on track to do this jump. Don't go too fast, otherwise you'll probably flip. But that trick just requires a bit of practice, it's not too hard. And start the mission. Make sure to walk into the marker again. Because there's 2 different acts to this. That was like Act 1 and now you do Act 2. Get 8 ball. Then head through the little train tracks or whatever this is. Abandoned railroad where all the homeless guys are.
I'm in University Road Tour.
So head to the docks. Don't spin out like Rot's doing in fucking Tokyo Drift style. So this is another cutscene that you skip with W, so that one there, just press W to skip it.
I always hit 8 ball here.
And then the little faster strat you can do is get a vantage point by just standing on top of the Mafia Sentinel, shoot those 2 guys, shoot the barrels, shoot that guy, that guy, that guy, little head there, that guy, that guy, that guy, and that guy. Just whack all the dudes. And now you basically just need to wait for 8 ball to do his thing here. So Rock's just kind of dicking him out. Again, if you're in a vehicle, use W to skip this cutscene. That's mission done. Now, if you didn't get into the taxi properly, that during Blowfish or anything like that, like you entered one too many vehicles and you feel like your ambulances are going to be there, then after this mission passes, just death warp, just like jump into the ocean or blow yourself up or mega jump or whatever, and then you'll spawn at the hospital, then grab the ambulance and drive back. But if you're confident that your ambulance is going to be there, like Rock is because he's done everything correctly, Then you can just drive back with the Mafia Sentinel. Back the way you came up the hill. Roxer. Top tier driving here being shown on display. I can't talk shit because mine is way worse. So make sure to go up the right side of that hill because the left side is way more steep. It's much easier to go up the right side. And then, if all has gone well, your ambulance will be here. Just get in, hold paramedic, press F3 to start the AK rampage you made during cutting the grass, and start last requests. Final mission in Portland. Now, you want to pay attention to your in-game clock here, because in the next mission, Sayonara Salvatore, how long the mission takes all depends on the in-game clock. So, if you guys don't remember the mission or you haven't played it, for some reason you're learning this game even though you've never played the game before, which, yeah, some people do. When you start the mission, depending on the time you start the mission, Salvatore, the point of the mission is you have to kill Salvatore at his club, but he only leaves Luigi's club at 30 minutes past a specific hour. And again, that hour depends on when you start the mission. So a good reference for what in-game time you need to be at is you need to get to the boat here during this mission at 17 minutes past the hour. Now, as you can see, Rock only has 27 seconds in real time to get to the boat, which isn't enough. But what you can do is double tap F1 every point whatever of a second, less than a second, and then you can stop the in-game clock from advancing. So as you can see, it's at 5:50, and because he keeps double tapping F1 at a certain interval, then it's still at 5:50. This is called faking Portland, because you're going to have a fake time at the end of it, because you're spoofing the clock. But if Rock didn't spoof the clock, like he is now, and he gets to the boat too late, then he'll have to wait an extra minute because Salvatore will leave the club an hour later. So you just drive towards this marker. Turns out the car that Salvatore gets you to get in is a trap. Maria tells you, and then you just drive towards the boat. So if you are gonna fake like Rock is here, make sure to do it in the car, not in the boat. You can fake in the boat, but it's super annoying to do, so don't bother. Just so as you can see, Rock is in the boat way before 17 minutes past the hour, and then you just drive to the end, just hold W.
Yes.
Skip this cutscene, and bam, that's Portland done. As you can see, he gets to here at 51 minutes past the hour. I think the cutoff is 55 or 50 something, late 50s, but don't quote me on that. So that right here is the Portland route, basically half the game, for the most consistent way you can do it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the recording and I'm going to show you two different routes. The first one I'm going to show you after this is a route that Instapass Salvatore is called a meeting, which is faster, but that doesn't require any Mandupes. What Mandupes are is basically instead of using submission to start a rampage, you jump into a mission marker or run into it. Excuse me. You run into a mission marker and then just time pressing F3 to start at the same time of the mission. It's difficult to do, so I would never recommend a beginner to do it. But again, I'm going to show you all the routes that are relevant, even if they are difficult. So this one is going to be the one that Instapass Salvatore is called a meeting, which saves a minute or two, but it doesn't require any Mandupes. So we'll cut to that now. Alright, so next up on the Portland routes is, I think it's been a while since I mentioned it in the clip that you would have seen about 10 seconds ago, but in case I didn't mention which one it is, it's the Salvatore is called a meeting Instapass route, which doesn't require any Mandupes. I do recall explaining what Mandupes are, so I won't have to do that now. But this route, along with the one that I'm going to show you after this, should only be done if you already are familiar with the game and how all the strats work. So it won't be an hour long of me explaining how to do everything. All I'm going to do is take you through the differences between the different routes. So we can speed it up a little bit here.
Hey Nico, thanks for doing that.
Could probably put it on 2x actually. So regarding the start, pretty much everything is the same. Also, you'll notice that Iguana has been nice enough to not only supply me with this video, but he's also placed inputs on the bottom left of the screen that you'll see around here, so you can see exactly what he's pressing, which will be useful for this. So we'll skip ahead a bit. Also, I'm having to use Twitch's player because I was having issues opening this in VLC. Usually I like to open things like this in VLC because Twitch's playback is usually pretty piss poor, but it just wouldn't. This video just won't work in VLC for some reason, so we'll just hopefully rely on Twitch to not fucking shaft me. So he's doing the Vegito strat, and I believe the first difference in replays is yeah, as you can see on his splits, he's gonna make an M16 replay during Drive Misty for me rather than dealing with the shotgun one. So I'll just skip forward a bit more. See what I mean? This would have loaded instantly in fucking YouTube or VLC if it was working. So this is Drive Misty for me. And this is where you'll see the first difference. So instead of going all the way east here, he will drive towards the bridge. And just across where you do, I think this is where you do fuzzball. Right here is the replay for the M16, which you will make during my clips. And then you will continue with the Instapass as normal. I think everything is normal up until, yeah, Cipriani's. So you do Van Heist as normal. And then we'll skip to Cipriani's chauffeur. So instead of making the rocket rampage here, you just continue on and you make the M16 replay in the first position. Because you have already obviously used the 2 positions now. Since I've just shown you the second one. So the actual use of these replays are all used the same way. But the actual making of the replays is different. So here you make the M16 replay in the first position again. And then you continue on with Cipriani's as normal. Then you dip and fail. Take out the laundry. And then here you want a submission vehicle. Taxi is perfect. Taxi is actually mandatory to add on there. So now you... It's going to do it a bit pretty quick. I should probably slow down for this section. So here we go. We'll go back. So he's going to rampage start the M16 that he made during Cipriani's with Taxi. Start the pickup, which you remember you didn't do with an M16 last time. You then hop across. You aim just to the right of this lamppost. Mega jump, and you'll land in this little... I don't know what it's called. You mega jump a second time, and then as you can see, he's playing replays during this. You need to play replays fast. I've never actually tested if like double tapping F1 works, but you can use like F3 and F1, or you could try F1 and F1 at the same time. Oh, Iguana's actually doing F1. Okay, so that does work. So yeah, so you just need to like spam replays. So Iguana's doing like F1. The reason for that is you need the fire truck to spawn. You don't actually use the fire truck in the other route that I mentioned before, but you need it here. Nice fixed spawn that's kind of guaranteed and pretty close to Tony's place. So now you drive this to where you did a mission. Use the M16 for this. You just blow up the van straight away because you've got like, you know, pretty much infinite ammo M16. Then just kill these guys, turn around, and they'll all be lined up for you. Wipe them all out. Get in the fire truck. Go back to Tony's place. Park up. Then he's using the top-down camera because apparently it's easy to move. I'm not sure if I like using that, but... So now he finishes the pickup. Then he gets into the fire truck, holds firefighter, walks into Salvatore's called a meeting. Then he lets go of fire truck, so now he's on mission 0, Salvatore's called a meeting. Then he gets back into taxi, walks in while holding taxi, and then just obviously wait for the rampage to run out. And then spam shift to skip the cutscene, skip this cutscene, and then you can let go of taxi, and that's Salvatore's called a meeting Instapass. And then you go right into Chaperone. You don't have to worry about crash cam, because you're not going to Instapass Blowfish. You do Blowfish normally, because you can't Instapass Blowfish anymore using Taxi, because obviously Taxi's now dead, because you used it to Instapass Salvatore's called a meeting instead. So Chaperone, you do everything normally, I believe. Oh, you missed the rocket replay, actually. Don't make that. And then now with this, you need to despawn your limo. Remember when I mentioned before how during Don't Smack My Bitch Up, you can mark a car for despawn if somebody's chasing you and you blocked a door? What Iguana does here is when he gets to Chico, there's a lot of triads that usually spawn. And he's going to block the door while one of them is chasing him. He's going to like slow down to try and like instigate one. So you see there he stops, they start shooting at him. And then when he's chasing him, he blocks the door with the tree and the bench like that. So that's going to mark the limo for despawn. Now obviously you can't always rely on triads spawning, and I don't really agree with the way Iguana does this. But the other easy way to do this, which is 100% consistent, is when you get here, you can punch this mafia guy. Like, get out of the limo, punch him, he'll run after you, and then you can block the door while the mafia guy is coming after you. And that's like 100% consistent. So this, obviously, you don't have you're on mission 1, so you don't start a rampage or anything like that. Then you continue on as normal. But then here, instead of going to do TNT, you do cutting the grass instead.
Oh my god, dude.
You don't fail that mega jump like Iguana did. So you immediately start cutting the grass, and then instead of making the AK replay, you use the grenades. The reason you use the grenades is it's kind of like a minor optimization over using the AK. Is you can sprint with them rather than having to like jump with the AK. So the reference for the grenades rampage is you pull up, so you're on this like street as you can see on the map, and then there's like a little ridge there on the train tracks, and it lines up with the street like yellow marker as well. And you just make a walking replay over it. That's the grenades rampage right there. It was the spot indeed, Iguana. And then you hop on, get what's his name to come over with you. A benefit to doing this route is definitely the fact that you don't have to deal with the tight timing here. You can just finish this mission as normal.
The middle of the junction.
So you just kill Kelly Bob. Continue on. And then this is why you use the fire truck. So what you do is, the way this works is, obviously when you start and kill firefighter, you will despawn vehicles. And the grenades rampage is actually that you have to destroy vehicles, right? Like, you don't kill people. So if you firefighter starts, like submission start with firefighter, the grenades rampage, you can then start and cancel firefighter, and that will destroy a vehicle because it's despawning them. So all that you do is you start and cancel firefighter, and as you can see, the rampage thing is going down. You do that all the way to 1, and then you hop out, start triads and tribulations, and then you can just blow up the fire truck, which will be your last vehicle to blow up. And then that completes the rampage, allows you to start the mission again, and then you can just kill yourself. Then grab the ambulance, and then you go and actually do Blowfish normally this time. So you do the mega jump again. Iguana is struggling. And then this time you jump to that ledge right there, and then you just hop to the van.
I'm not actually sure what those replays were for specifically, so I'll be sure to ask him and add it in. I'll write a note now really quick to ask Iguana what those replays were for. Those ones. I'll write during Blowfish, just in case I forget. But yeah, so he's driving backwards here. This works the same way as in Vice City. If you're not looking at traffic, it won't spawn. But you have to be going a certain speed for it to work, but Trash Master is just good enough. And then this is just like common. There's no real strat to this. You just drive it in, arm the bomb, and then since you're gonna death warp, you just chill next to the explosion, and then just like walk into the fire and kill yourself. And then go and start bomb the base. Bomb the base is all normal, I believe. Skip forward. This all looks pretty normal to me. And then the one difference between normal bomb the base at the end is you kill these guys and then you immediately hop back into the car. And remember that shotgun rampage in the alleyway? You make this during the, like before 8-ball finishes and you get the cutscene. So 1-2 between 3rd and 4th like that. Make the replay, hop back in, then the replay, the cutscene will play, and then it'll warp you back, and then you can just drive. Of course, if that's quite tight timing, if you don't have the time to make that, you can just use a submission like Paramedic. To force yourself to be on mission 1, and then you can make the replay after you death warp. Like death warp, grab the ambulance, go on Paramedic, and then make the replay. But again, this is like an advanced route deliberately. I wouldn't advise ever going for this. Unless you already know what you're doing. And you just do the shotgun rampage for last requests. And I believe everything else is the same. But we'll watch through just in case. I want to quickly check what replays he makes during Sayonara Salvatore, because there is a different replay route depending on what you're actually doing. So I'm going to quickly check what he does. See if it's different than the regular route. Doesn't look like it. So this is what you would do in the normal route. And then he makes... Yeah, okay. So these replays are the same. So I'll cover, obviously, this mission when we get back to Rock's video. But yeah, so that is Scam Instapass Portland route. It's about a minute faster, I believe, if you execute it well. Maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, depending on how good you do it. So next up, the final route I'm going to cover is the one where if you're going for world record, it's pretty much mandatory to do. And that's... Chivu's video, which will be doing not only the Scam Instapass, but also using submissions like Paramedic to do certain dupes, rather than using like the fire truck and shit like that. And then, but it will require you to do 2 Mandupes. So yeah, pretty much like world record contention only. But again, it's worth covering because people do it. So yeah, I'll be back in a second with that. So this is Chivu's video right now. This is the current world record of the game. That's managed to beat the game in 1 hour, 1 minute and 26 seconds. The reason I'm starting this at cutting the grass, which may seem really late, but the simple reason is that the first difference between the Iguana video that I just showed you and Chivu's world record is here. So as you can see, instead of like running him over and driving off, you simply just M16 him. Which you can do by I didn't mention this before because people, I feel like it's pretty uncommon strat to go for, but maybe Chivu does it. But if you're in a rampage, you don't actually have infinite ammo like it may seem. You only have 30,000 bullets, right? But of course that's like such a high number that you would never ever be able to beat that. So But if you end the rampage in a replay, then you will attain 30,000 of that ammunition. Ammunition, even, not ammunition. So that is actually used in any percent to attain 30,000 rockets later. But most people don't bother with the M16, but I guess Chivu does. So because he did that strat earlier, I'm not actually sure when he does it. I assume it would be here. Maybe? No, he doesn't? Okay. Let's quickly find out when he does it. Yeah, so there you go. He does it during when he's waiting for the scam Instapass. So when the rampage fails, as you can see, he's like playing replays, and if you time it correctly, you'll then have all that ammunition. Fuck. All the ammunition you would ever need for the M16 is there. So back to cutting the grass, wherever that is. Cutting the grass. Here we go. So he M16s. If you didn't get the M16 30k, then just run him over. But then you need to death warp because he's going to use paramedic to easily dupe and fail triads and tribulations. This is of course much faster, but it means that you'll kill paramedic, which means that you need to Mandupe later. But this is really simple. You can actually do this with taxi too, but it's like frame perfect. Whereas this, it isn't. All you need to do is hold ambulance and then let go within like, I think you have like a good second window as you walk in and start the mission. And then if you let go at the right time, you'll dupe it properly. And then you can just dupe and fail. What I'll quickly do is I'll get another one of Chivu's videos up with inputs to show you exactly when he lets go, just so I can, fully explain it. So this here is one of Chivu's PBs with inputs, so you can see when he lets go. At the top left is num plus. Just as soon as you see the fade in like that, then you just let go. As I say, the timing's pretty lenient compared to like the 1 frame window that you have for taxi.
Also a cosmic brain strat.
Also cosmic brain strat. Also something else to mention real quick is an easy way to cancel like the death animation if you're gonna kill yourself by mega jumping like that. As you can see, I'll put it in like slow motion because it's quite fast. When he mega jumps, he will jump back, and then once he's like dead, he then double taps replay again, you see, and it like cancels the animation of him falling down. That's like an extra little minor thing that I can think of now. So the next difference in Bomb the Base is that unlike Iguana, where he made the shotgun replay, you don't need it. So you just kind of chill for the end of Bomb the Base. And then drive back. And then instead of using the ambulance like Iguana did in the no Mandupe route, this is where the first Mandupe is. It's for last requests. As for an actual reference, this will take like quite a bit of practice. But a lot of people use like the rug or like a jump or something else to use a reference. But as you can see, Shiva just runs in, and just before he like crosses the rug, I'll see if I can show you like the exact frame, he presses F3. There, like as he steps onto the rug, rather than like the red bit here, as he steps across this line. He plays the replay, and then he's able to start the rampage and last request at the same time without a submission vehicle. The world record route uses 2 of these, but again, the reason why you should only use them if you're going for world record is because they're pretty hard. Especially to do consistently. The second one that I'll cover quickly, even though it's like a bit later on down the line in Staunton, but I figured I'd do this all at once, is for Paparazzi Purge, which is the mission where you need to just like blow up the guy who's peeping on Azuka and Maria. I think her name's Azuka. Asuka? I don't know, whatever. But so I'll show that off really quick. Wherever Paparazzi purges. Here we go. So he's driving towards Paparazzi Purge here. But he doesn't use the ambulance to like start the rampage or anything because Paramedic is dead from before using it to dupe TNT. So he gets out and he uses this little ridge as a reference, and he like runs into it. And then as he crosses the end of it, like he'll like run out because he's like stuck against the wall. And then as he steps into the marker, that's when he plays the replay, just like that, as he puts like his foot into the marker. And he starts the rocket rampage and Paparazzi Purge at the same time. So those are the two Mandupes that you need to do in the world record route. And yeah, that should be just about everything you need. And we'll go back to Rock's video. So we're back to Rock's video. This is where you should have skipped to if you're a beginner. You should have skipped from when I finished last requests with Rock's video, basically to the start of where we are now. As though all the in-between shenanigans never happened, but they were just covering the other Portland routes for more advanced runners. So this can kind of cater to everyone. So this is just the end of last requests. He's going to start Sayonara Salvatore. Again, as I mentioned before, it will have just been a couple of seconds ago, assuming you skip forward as you should. Salvatore will leave the club at 30 minutes past the hour. For Rock, it's at 9:30. It could be anywhere from, I think a 5:30 is possible, a fake 5:30, but it could be anywhere from 6:30 to 15:30, depending on how fast or slow you are. So the AK Rampage is going to run out, which puts him on mission 0 for this mission. And then he's going to get the Banshee. Knocking the door off on the Banshee isn't like any other vehicle. You can't grind it off. You have to do what Rock did and smack it at an angle. Like that. Which is kind of tricky, but it's not too hard. So the Banshee is like the god tier vehicle for this section, because it's like right outside where most of the mission starts, and it's one of the best cars in the game. So we're going to go back to Portland, because we need to wait for Salvatore to leave Luigi's club. First, we're going to pick up a rampage, because we're on mission 0, to chain into duping and failing the next mission under surveillance. And we're also going to make another replay in order to set up the 30k rockets. Which, if you watched the whole video up until now, you'll know how that works. But assuming that you've skipped forward as you should, you probably won't. So I guess I'll mention it now. So when you start a rampage in this game, you're not actually given infinite ammo like you think you are. You're given 30,000 specifically of whatever you're using. So grenades, 30,000. M16 will be 30,000 bullets. In this case, it's going to be 30,000 rockets. So the reason that's significant is because when you end a rampage inside a replay and you time it right, then you will get those 30,000 rockets, and that will be really useful later on, because 30,000 rockets is, it allows you to do some cool strats. It's not necessary, it's possible that you can mess it up, but it does save time. So Rock is going to pick up this rampage at a very specific time. It's going to do it at 15 seconds past the hour. You can do it earlier if you want to have less leeway, or you can do it later if you're less confident, because you're going to need to do a mega jump back to Staunton. And if you pick it up at 15, you can afford to mess it up a couple of times. But if you're really not confident with your mega jumps, you should delay. But on the contrary, if you're really confident, you can pick it up a couple of seconds earlier and save yourself a bit of time. It all depends on when you pick up this rampage. So 15 is safe, 20 is safer. But you can go earlier if you want to, and you go around here. Remember the replay you made on Chaperone? You make the same one here, because it's the other rocket location. And then, as you might know, we're stuck with a rocket launcher right now, and that's not exactly very beneficial. because we need to shoot people, and shooting a big bunch of guys with the rocket launcher is kind of going to be awkward, especially in close quarters. But fortunately, what you can do is just go into ammunition and buy an Uzi, and it will replace your rocket launcher with an Uzi, which is perfect. So for Rock, Salvatore is going to get there at 9:30, so he's pulling in at 9:10, which just gives him enough time. Just park right there. We can chill for a bit. And then right here, a bunch of guys in exactly 1 second's time when I unpause are going to come out of the door. You need to kill all of them. But you need to wait until... Like, wait about a second before you start shooting. Like, don't try and pre-fire them or anything. And also, don't shoot their limbs, because if you crit them, then they can get stuck, and it's just a ball ache. So you see, they'll spawn, Rock is deliberately rating, then he shoots them, like, all down the middle like that, and you'll kill them all. Then Salvatore will spawn, he'll start running towards you, and you just run him over. Now, as you can see, Rock has about 30 seconds left on the rampage, so from now, you need to go back to Staunton, start under surveillance before the rampage timer runs out. So the way you're going to do that is you're going to do a mega jump. So Rock's reference here is he looks at a specific point. The other reference you can do is you can look towards the pier with your head. So from basically the angle where he's at right now, but you would lift the mouse up until Claude's head looks at this like cross where the pier is. Those are the two references that you can use for this. And then you just mega jump across. And then you can mega jump across here as well. But when you mega jump, be very careful. As you can see, Rock did it there. Don't mega jump when you're transitioning between sprinting and walking. Make sure you're either fully sprinting or fully walking. Don't do it in the transition, because otherwise you can get like a baby jump and you won't go as far and you'll die. So Rock fully stops sprinting, then he mega jumps. That's the right way to do it. Then you start under surveillance. Just chill. Start it again. And then just kill yourself. So you can just mega jump. There you go. Be careful not to mega jump back towards Portland, because you'll spawn in Portland at the hospital and you want to be at Staunton. Thankfully, the ambulances in Staunton are always unlocked. I don't know why they would make these ones always unlocked, but not the ones in Portland. But yeah. So start the rocket rampage that you made during the last mission with paramedic as soon as you get up the hospital stairs, and then go towards the Banshee again. Doesn't matter if you flip.
Okay. Don't explode next to my Banshee.
Well, I guess, yeah, if you explode next to the Banshee, it's bad. So, knock off the door. Then for this mission, it's really trivialized. Holy shit, I can't speak. Because obviously you have the rocket launcher with 30,000 ammo. So there's a couple of references for this. The one that I use, I'll quickly see which one Rock uses. So he just shoots twice in the middle. Okay. So that's one reference you can use. The other one that I use is shoot the head of the boat, so like there, and then just shoot the middle. Either one works. And it's time for Payday for Ray. Watch Mojo's hardest mission of all time. But this is just as simple as driving around and collecting the checkpoints.
Second.
Sometimes you need a little help navigating life's trouble spots. That's when I discovered.
So head down this way. Be sure to go into the top-down camera, because otherwise you're driving into oncoming traffic. And also, be careful to not soft-lock this mission. The easiest way to soft-lock this mission is by like going out of the phone's radius. And the easiest way to do that is to like go into the trigger the cutscene and then press like F or something, or buffer an input, or in general just don't walk close enough to the phone. So make sure that you're stood like right next to the phone like Rock is, otherwise you can soft lock this mission, which is like a free 2-minute time loss. Because you have to wait for the mission to fail and then go and do it again, which is really annoying. So if you activated the rocket rampage at the correct time, like I told you to, it'll start counting down now. Once it gets to about, like, once you see the 0 seconds, like now, then you can start mashing F3 as fast as you can. And if all goes well, as you can see, you will have 30,000 rockets if you time it correctly. Again, it's not run over if you mess it up, but it is certainly slower to not have the 30,000 rockets. You have to use like grenades and stuff, which is usually slower because of the, like, you know, delayed detonation. So here, Rock's gonna make a replay over the Bribe Star. This is the last replay you'll make in the entire game, in the traditional sense. Because when you make a replay over a Bribe Star like this, you can just grab it infinitely because it's in the replay. So there are a lot of missions in the later game that'll give you like a 5-star wanted level or a 2-star wanted level, 3-star wanted level, and you can just bribe it away by pressing F3 3 times and you'll just lose your wanted level, which is really convenient. So again, just the way you make this replay is just you can continue driving F2, F3, F1, and then press F2 after you drive past it. Rock is making a bit of mincemeat out of it, but
Look at Claude.
What is Claude doing? That's great. I haven't seen that before.
Penny.
Oh, look at Penny. God, Rock is such a funny guy. So yeah, this is all just as normal. So I'll do my best to mention the differences that you need to do in case you miss the 30,000 rockets. Like, for example, on Silence to Sneak, you have to use grenades, which isn't too hard. And for Arm Shortage, you'll have to do a bit of a different route depending on where the guys spawn, but it's not too bad. So this is the final phone. Rock is here with like well over a minute left, but apparently people find this mission difficult, like somehow, even though you can do it with like a minute and a half remaining on the clock. No idea how people fail that. He gets a nice Banshee pickup here. Obviously, you don't have to get this pickup, as he's grunting because that guy pulled in front of him.
Just turn right.
But I would advise switching Banshees before you start doing Evidence Dash, because you will need to bump a lot of things, take a lot of damage. So if you do see a Banshee from like anywhere from now until Evidence Dash, then I'd advise taking it. So if you do have 30k rockets, Silence to Sneak is super easy. All you do is shoot a rocket in the window, and then shoot a rocket in the window, and then when McCaffrey spawns, you just shoot him with a rocket launcher. Problem solved. But obviously, if you don't have the 30k rockets, you'll have to do intended strats, which is to throw a grenade in the window, and then when he spawns, all you need to do is just as soon as you like gain control, just look towards the car and click. Don't like hold the button to throw it. Just drop the grenade at your feet. McCaffrey will drive right into it, and then he'll blow up the same way. Doesn't lose any time. So Arm Shortage is next. And Arm Shortage actually gives you access to buying rockets, but you can't go crazy and buy as many rockets as you want, because you need $500,000 to start the last mission of this game. And you have about $595,000, assuming you do everything correct. So you can't spend like, you know, 100 grand on rockets, because then if you do, you won't have enough money to start the final mission. So, but we'll cover that in a second. So Phil's Place is a nice little jump you can do here. People have different references. That's Rocks, where you just kind of go over the hill. I personally use a different reference, which is drive around the right side of this tree and then line it up straight and go across. Either one works. And then you skip this cutscene with Phil, and then what you want to do is you want to drive, block the gate here with your car, and then 3 cartel cars will start spawning, but they'll spawn like one after the other. Now, where you shoot this vehicle, can have like more effect than you think it might. Because if you cause a double explosion, which happens like where you shoot it and then it will set on fire and then explode again because of a bug, which is like easily doable here, then the final car won't spawn when it should, and you'll have to like do things in a different order. So the way Shivu told me to consistently avoid the double explosion is to shoot as high as possible on the driver's side windshield. So you'd shoot like here, because that flips the car and that would stop the double explosion from happening. What a lot of people do as well is they shoot the driver's side door. Either of those works. So if all goes well, you don't get the double explosion like that, and the third car will spawn. If you do get the double explosion, this car will not spawn. And there are 2 guys that will spawn on this western little alleyway here. If you don't get this car to spawn, then these guys will spawn like after a matter of time, no matter what. So keep an eye on these guys, because if you're waiting for this car to spawn and it doesn't, these guys can just come and kill Phil, and that will be mission failed. So if it doesn't spawn, just keep an eye on your map, and when these guys start moving, just turn towards them and like throw a grenade at them or something. Another thing to mention is that if you don't have 30k rockets, there is a rocket pickup that you can see in this cutscene there. All you need to do is go around this corner and there'll be a bunch of boxes here that you can stand on. Climb on the wall, jump over, and grab the rockets. There's also some armor between these containers if you're a pussy, but you shouldn't need it. So I think you get 5 rockets, and that's more than enough for this mission. So again, if you get that spawn, then just shoot it and then wait for these guys. Also, don't look... If they haven't spawned, you need to look away for them to spawn. Otherwise, they won't spawn right in front of you. You need to be not looking at them. And then it may seem like a good idea to use rockets to kill these guys because it's faster. But it's much more risky because I've had it before where I've made the stupid mistake of using rockets. And what I've done is I've shot a rocket and then they've shot it out of the sky and killed me. So instead, just fucking toss grenades over.
Uh-oh.
Don't throw them at Phil like what Rock does here. That was...
Thankfully, Phil didn't get killed by that grenade.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Oh, shit.
So now you can buy... you can buy guns from Phil. The rockets are 25,000 per 5 rockets. So as I mentioned before, if you don't have 30k rockets, obviously if you do have 30k rockets, you don't need to buy anything, just continue on. But if you don't have 30k rockets, you want to buy rockets here. 10 is enough, but you can buy 15 if you want to be safe. But if you buy 20, you won't have enough money for the exchange, which is the final mission. So just make sure to buy a maximum of 3 pickups, which is 75,000. But if you do have 30k rockets, then just peace out. You don't need to spend any time here. This mission is fucking ass. It's one of the worst missions in the game because it's pretty damn random. These next 2 missions actually are fucking bullshit because it's completely random whether you gain or lose time usually, even if you play well. So here's another chance where you can try and get a nice car if you haven't already got one. So evidence dash, the point is that you need to knock 6 things of evidence away from a bobcat, which drives at the speed of fucking sound. And then destroy the car with the evidence inside. But where he drives, his route is pretty much random. Because the next mission happens at Donald's Love's place, which is like all the way at the south, you ideally want him to drive around the south so you can then finish the mission and start the next one right next door, right? But he can just drive all the way to the stadium, which is like all the way north. It's fucking bullshit. Like, there's not really a whole lot you can do about it. But this seems like decent. He's hanging around the north, which is nice. So you want to bump him, and then as soon as you bump him the first time, you'll get 2 stars. So this is where you can play the bribery play like that. So now the police don't deal with you. Because 2 stars can make this annoying. So he's bumped him once, picked up 1 evidence, dossier or whatever you'd call this, package. So that's 2. Just skip forward here. That's 3. He actually missed that one. And 4, 5, and that's the 6th one there. So now what you want to do is you want to drive towards Donald's place, which is pretty much here on the map. Like, basically southwest. Southwest of Staunton. And also look for a car that you want to use. So I assume he'll take this Infernus. Yep. So you just want to get out, get the Infernus, move it away, because obviously you're going to blow up this car. Then just hop out and throw a grenade or rocket the Banshee. Then that's mission passed. So this is Donald's Love's place. Liberator is another bullshit mission because you need a cartel cruiser in order to get into their compound. But Rockstar were not nice enough to put a fixed spawn anywhere in a convenient location. So you just have to go up north and hope you get one on the street, which is just fucking stupid. But, you know, it's just the way it is. So there's actually like an Ultra God spawn. I don't think Rock gets it. But you can get one on this road here, which is like perfect, because this is where you're going to be going. But you can see he's got one here, so this is decent RNG. It's not the perfect RNG, but it's good enough. And then you just head west. And then usually these guys will like shoot at you and be an annoyance, but if you play a replay like I mentioned before that it can like kill the AI, as soon as they start moving like that you can just double tap F1. And Rock didn't kill those guys, but you are supposed to. You should run both of these guys over, like this guy and this guy. This will cause him problems in a second, but definitely you should absolutely deal with those. Also, when you shoot the rocket like Rock just did here, be sure to shoot more to the right, because if you shoot right down the middle like here, then the rocket will just go right through the wall. So this old gentleman that you need to steal can spawn in any one of these 3 garages, which is again fucking more randomness. Fantastic. This is one, which is like the god one. This is the second one. And that's the third one. Obviously third one is like fucking terrible. So you shoot the rocket like this, which will kill the guys inside because they have like guides, you know, like guarding them. Like, as you can see, Rock is just... This Liberator has not gone well. So he needs to kill those guys that you should run over. Nice follower alerts, Rock.
Thanks for the follow, let me kiss you.
Thanks for the follow, let me kiss you. So you take the old guy. There's another cartel cruiser that Rock showed here, which is faster if you get the third garage than dealing with running all the way back. Because the old guy, even though he's in danger and you're here to rescue him, he fucking walks so slow. He has no intention of being saved. It's like he fucking wants to be in there. Like, whatever, dude. So next up is a Wakigashira Wipeout, which isn't nearly as random, but you should keep the cartel cruiser, even though you might think like, oh, there's a Banshee here, I'll switch to it. No, keep the cartel cruiser because you need it for this next mission too. So just driving back. There's a neat little mega jump strat you can do here to get to Donald's place faster. I'm pretty sure Rock shows it off. We'll just skip this cutscene. God, Rock rolling in the follower alerts right now. But yeah, so you just run towards that flat door and just mega jump there, which is pretty cool. Shouts to Odisic for finding that strat. My man. So, as it says, go to Staunton, steal a Colombian gang car. You already have one, because you just did Liberator.
Hey folks, it's Andy, riding on the Lips 106 airwaves. Today, I'm gonna play you some sassy ladies.
So,
70s, 80s, and 90s.
I'm going to quickly check, really quick, because there's a lot of different ways that you can kill Kenji. Most of them involve the rocket launcher. I'm going to quickly check what Shibu does, because I don't want to make the mistake of telling you that this is the fastest way that Rock's going to do, if it isn't. So give me a second here. Okay, did indeed just check. This Chiba does the same thing, so I'll assume this is the fastest way. So what you want to do is you want to park up, and then you want to stand on a specific spot here. Rock doesn't really do a good job of lining it up, he just fucking wings it. But you want to be stood on this line, and then you want to shoot this, you see this little light here? Or, it's not a light, I always thought these were lights. But I guess this is the, or are they lights? I don't know. They could be like the fucking things up top for all I know, but let's go with lights. I'm pretty sure they're lights. You want to shoot like once on each side. So once on the right side like that, once on the left side, and then he does once in the middle as well. And then you hop in the cartel car to like for the game to trigger that Kenji is dead. Now there is a chance that if you shoot like or stand in the incorrect spot, you can bonk Kenji and like knock him over but not kill him. The way you'll know is if you get in the car and it doesn't say that Kenji's fender meat, like here. There. That's how you know you haven't killed him. Like, if that doesn't come up. And also the blip will still be there. But you can use the blip to see where you've knocked him. So, you can either go like, oh shit, he's like right above me. And you can just shoot him from underneath with the rocket launcher. The other trick, I think my PB does it. I'll check real quick. Alright, so my PB does indeed do the slower strat, but it's a lot easier. Instead of shooting there, you go up an extra floor, and you aim at the same light, but because you're a bit closer, it's easier to look at. So you just stand next to this pillar, and then you shoot at this light, and you just do one on each side again. I shoot a couple of times extra to be safe, and then you kill Kenji. So once he's dead, Rock gets a cheater here, which he can switch to. Don't go too far out of your way to switch a car. Unless you get like a really good one like this. Like a cheater is a really fast car and it's like right there, then you can take it. But otherwise, don't bother. Just keep the cartel cruiser and you'll switch it after this next mission. Because a drop in the ocean is basically a like an auto-scroller. So I'm actually going to quickly switch to Chivu's PB now, even though we've been using Rock pretty much this whole time. Because Rock's PB is quite old, and there's a strat on this next mission that Chivu does that actually saves time over what Rock does. So we'll switch to Chivu's PB just to show like the most up-to-date strats. So this is back to Chivu's PB. Also something quick to mention is you have 3 stars in this mission, right? But you might think it's a good idea to bribe them away, but don't bother, there's no real use. And people have had issues with crashing here before by playing replays here. So don't bother, just dump the car and then start a drop in the ocean. So now you're basically on a 2-minute time limit, you can do whatever you want. So Chivu can switch car here, because he kept the cartel cruiser. So obviously, since you're on a timer, you don't lose any time by switching to a faster car now. Just stop by ammunition. Grab some stuff. You can grab the armor there, but Chivu already has armor. And then what Chivu's going to do, he's gonna glitch a car. Again, this works the same way in Vice City if you know how it works, but assuming you don't, basically if you use a replay to interrupt the exit animation of somebody getting out of a car, then you can keep that vehicle stuck in memory. So you can drive away, die, whatever else. As long as you don't load a save or blow it up, it will still be there, so you can stick that car in memory. It's useful in Vice City because you can have like no traffic for the second half of the game. But the main reason it's used in this is to blow up a stall during Espresso to Go later, like remotely, rather than like throwing a grenade at it. You can just snipe the car and blow it up, which saves a couple of seconds. And obviously doing the setup now doesn't lose any time since you're on a timer anyway. He's deliberately blocking the driver door as well, because if you glitch a car normally, like, and they exit through the driver door, and then you get into the car, you can't drive it anymore. Like, you can, but you can't exit the car. You're stuck inside the car. Whereas if they exit through the passenger side and you enter through the driver's side, then you can drive it as normal. So the way you glitch cars in GTA 3 is you hijack like this, the driver's side. Because of the difference between the height between the different cars, she was able to get out, but that isn't normal. So I'm sure you'll do it again in a second. Also, as you can see, when he was playing replays at 59 minutes past the hour, I don't know if you remember when I mentioned about the weather skip, but he's doing weather skip right now with the F1s. So he'll go to glitch something else instead. I guess he uses this. So yeah, he hijacks it. Then he'll get out. They'll get out, and then he plays a replay. And now, as you can see, that guy is like completely stuck, and that taxi will stay in memory no matter what. So he can come back in like 10 minutes time and grab it. So he's gonna park it in a very specific place, and that's where the stall is gonna spawn. So he parks it there, and then shoots it until it's like quite low on health. So he puts about 1.5 clips into it of the Uzi, which he got from ammunition. And that's enough to make it so when you snipe it later, you can blow it up easily. And now on with the actual mission. I don't think Shivu will, because he's kind of short on time. Oh, he is going to... I was going to say, okay, you can grab health here. But yeah, Chivu's going to be an absolute mad lad and grab it anyway. So the plane is in range, it drops all the packages, and then like 10 minutes later, these fucking cops show up and grab them all. But even though it may seem like he's kind of running out of time, the cops take so long to come and grab the packages that you have plenty of time. So you can see where the 2 packages are, he just grabs them. So that espresso to go snipe, I wouldn't recommend going for as a beginner, but I figured I'd show you it anyway. But you don't have to do that. It's like a minor time save, and it requires quite a lot of trickery. So if you're unsure about doing it, then don't bother. Doesn't save that much time. So as you can see, he got a 5-star wanted level, but he's able to bribe it away. He only bribes away 4 times, because 1 star is not enough of a problem for it to matter. Then he mega jumps, gets back in the Infernus, and drives off. So we'll skip the drive back since you've seen it quite a few times already. And then if you ever were going to park your car up here, like maybe you're not and you're like running up and down, you should do it now. Because as soon as you start Grand Theft Auto, the bridge to Shoreside, like the cycles will start going. Essentially, the bridge raises and lowers on timed intervals. And as soon as you start this mission, you'll be on like a clock in order to make the cycle. If the bridge goes up and you're waiting for it, then it's quite a big time loss. So you want to be kind of speedy here. So again, make sure to despawn traffic as much as you can. And then as you'll hear, that's the sound there of the bridge going up. It'll go up like a couple of seconds after you start hearing that sound. So the leniency is there, but if you crash or something, then you kind of need to put it into high gear. Because otherwise if you get stuck behind that bridge, then it's like, I don't know how much time loss it is, but it's like it's significant. So give me a second, I just need to pause really quick. Alright, we're back. So the way you drive here is pretty damn important, because the first guy that you meet, 2 things. The first guy that you meet has an M16, and he will fucking annihilate you if you don't kill him really quick. And the second one is that there's like a corpse that's gonna block you, and it's made out of like stainless steel, dude. Like legit, you can't go over it. You just hit it like a brick wall or flip. So that's the corpse I'm talking about. Ignore that, like avoid it like the plague, dude. And this guy has the M16. Kill him, run him over as fast as you can. Then you can just drive by everyone else. And now it's dodo time. So, dodo flying itself requires quite a lot of practice, because it goes against like any muscle memory you might have from flying planes beforehand.
But the general gist of it is whatever your dodo up and down keys are, you'll need to learn them. I use the arrow keys personally. I think it's like maybe numpad by default. I don't remember. But the way you take off is by holding dodo down and holding W. And then once you get her up enough speed, like just before you're about to hit this barrier, then let go and you will fly. And every time you tap down, you will like level yourself out and gain a bit of speed. So you see, like if Chibu was to completely let go of everything now, he would like go up and then just down again because he would lose all of his speed. But because he keeps tapping down at a consistent rate, he's like staying level and gaining speed. And then in order to land, which is much harder than taking off, you need to like let go and stop tapping down as frequently, so you like lose a bit of speed. And then you want to aim yourself up like that, like by tapping up a couple of times, and then just letting yourself descend. If you feel like you're falling too fast, you can hold down to like kind of level yourself out a bit more. But a lot of this is going to come like purely down to practice. And then you see he does like mega jump here. Just line yourself up with the whatever this is, the crane or whatever it is. And then he spams replays so he doesn't get shot, because again it breaks their AI. You don't need to do that, but it's just safe. And then there's two different ways you can do this. I would recommend doing it the way that the world record does it, which is just incorporate all the dodo strats at once, because they're not that hard. Like if I can do them, anyone can do them. That's how I feel. But I will show you how to do like bait with a car, because dodo bait and dodo exchange, like new exchange or fast exchange or whatever you call it, the exchange that the world record is going to do, I'd say the two hardest dodo strats, probably the two hardest strats in the entire game. So I'll show you how to do those in different ways that are a bit slower. But regarding the rest of it, I would definitely recommend learning how the dodo works, because it's so much faster than driving. So if you're going to go ahead and be a fucking man and do dodo bait, then you want to take the dodo. If not, you want to take the Yakuza Stinger back to Donald's place. Here you can do a small flight, so again, just like despawn traffic, and then once you get to a nice amount of speed, like where the sparks fly, you can see the sparks on the bottom. That's a good time to let go. There, look, you can see the sparks. It's a good time to let go, and then just like routinely tap down. But again, this is pure practice. And then here, you don't need to like slow down a lot. You can just like nosedive to land. Like that. Just fucking plummet. Nice and easy. And then turn it around. Finish the mission. Make sure to not start the next Donald mission, because we're going back to the construction site. And then fly back. But you do actually want to land properly this time. So head over the park, back towards the construction site, which is like the A on your map. And again, hold down so you level out. And it's time for dodo bait. So I would say this is like the second hardest strat in the game. But again, I'll show you how to do it with a car, which is a lot easier. So the first thing you're going to need to do, which may sound weird, is after you take off, you're going to need to touch like a part of the ground. Now, I'm going to switch again because Chibu does a really specific dodo bait. And I think it's slightly faster, but honestly I'm not sure. But it's not the way most people do it, so I'm going to go back to Rock's video, which will show you the way most people do it. Alright, so back to Rock's video. And this is how most people do dodo bait. So make sure to despawn cars so you don't get dicked on the takeoff. And then just before you're about to go off, just let go. And then you want to touch the grass here, but don't hit it hard, just like skim off it like that. You'll know if you've skimmed it and touched it correctly, because you'll get the U flew for 6 seconds or whatever, which shows that you've hit the ground. The reason you want to touch that is because if you don't, the AI drives like complete fucking idiots and you'll lose a shitload of time because they'll like crash and get stuck in places, and it's really annoying. So this makes it like a bit more consistent. So you fly up here, make sure you get enough height. Make sure you, like, you see Rock here. He'll like fly towards the ocean, because obviously like the lower you go and the more you tap down, the more height you get. Which may seem, again, weird pressing down to go up, but you gain more speed, which means more height. You get the first guy, and then I usually wait and go around the left of this tree, but it's up to you. Rock goes around the right hand side. And then you want to head up this little hill here, which you can slow down quite a lot for. Then grab the second one. And then right around here, if you go between, like Rock is hugging left, I usually hug right and go like across here. If you go in the middle, you can accidentally trigger a unique stunt jump. And the problem with that is that the unique stunt jump, once you trigger it, it won't stop the slow motion and the weird camera until you land. But because obviously you're in a dodo, the only way you can land is usually by plummeting into the ocean because you can't see what you're doing. So don't trigger that USJ, whatever you're doing. Either hang left like Rock is doing or hang right. Don't go in between the middle. So now just head towards the last one. You know if you're going the right way because he's just behind this sign. Turn around. And then this is the hard part, is landing, because you need to slow down. You see Rock is routinely tapping up to slow down. And then leveling himself out to slow down. So, not a bad landing, but not great. And then you just want to back up into here, so you don't get shot. Because getting shot to shit here can be really bad. So, once those guys... You see how, like, once they arrive to the trap, they go green on the map? Like, that icon is green because those guys have made it to the destination. What you need to do is make sure that you don't get out. Like, just stay in the dodo, no matter what, until these last guys go green. Like that. Now you can get out. Because if their icon is red... and you get out and they spot you, then they'll drive off because they'll know it's a trap, and they'll drive off and go to the dam or wherever they go. So once the last guys are green, then you can just get out and rocket the last guys yourself. So before I show you the flight back, I'll show you a car bait. So this is again my crap tier PB, but you take the Yakuza Stinger instead of taking the dodo. You drive back to Donald's place with the usual route that you would take. Finish the mission, then come back to the construction yard, and then we'll fast forward it a bit. Put it on double speed since it's quite a long drive. So you're actually supposed to go, because I haven't seen this PB in a while. I believe you're actually supposed to go. You're supposed to go past the safe house here, so you go south, and then you cut across to the bridge rather than like I took a slightly different route here. So you would go this way. And either go like across the park or whatever, but you would go past the safe house rather than going along this northern path. But as long as you make the bridge cycle, it's not a huge deal. But obviously if you miss it, then you're kind of fucked. So here's the first car, which would be the last car in Dodo Bait. Classic cop dicking me there. Then you head across the bridge. Get to the second car. You go all the way north and then go west I talk too much. I shouldn't use my PBs for these videos. I talk way too much. So that's the last guy there, and then you drive across the dam. And then you go in the same place. But as you can see, it's quite a lot slower than Dodo Bait. But that's the route you would take in order to do car bait okay. So these guys come in. You can get out and just shoot them. There you go. And that's car bait done. Then what you would do is if you want to continue with the Dodo for Espresso to go, which I would recommend because it's quite neat. You only fly it across like one thing. It's really easy. You would go and grab the Dodo now from the airport. So you just drive south and grab it and then fly back like you would if you were on Grand Theft Auto. But for now, we'll switch back to Chiva's PB. So Chiva just completed bait. And now it's time for Espresso to go. The one where you need to blow up these stalls. As you remember, I'm using Chivu's PB specifically because he already has that taxi lined up for a snipe, which is like the fastest way to do this mission. So now you just fly back from the bait trap all the way to the construction yard. Again, you can gain speed by flying low and then go high when you want to slow down. Tap down less frequently. And then finally start tapping up to put your nose up so you lose height. And then when you start going down, you can just pull down. There you go. I don't know if there's an actual like extensive video on Dodo flying. But if you ever want to be sure, I learned how to fly the Dodo from Lev's PB. He has a 106, I think, on speedrun.com. And he has inputs on how to, like, how he does landings and stuff, and that helped me a lot. So, I would definitely recommend that. So for this one, you can just take off to the right, because you're going to be going east anyway. And you're going to crash land into where the Banshee is in Portland, which is like a fixed spawn in like a car showroom with a package and everything else. And then you just drive for the rest of it. So that's why I said that you should use the Dodo for this, even if you're not confident, because, you know, it's just a crash land. It's not hard. So drive into the first stall. And the second stall, you can just cut through this this hill down here. It's just in front of you here. You can drive into it. If you're scared about taking too much damage, or if you've crashed, you can just get out and obviously either grenade it or rocket it, depending if you've got 30k rockets or not. Fernando Martinez going crazy on the radio. So just hop across the bridge. And then here you want to go. You can see the snipe here. So that's where the taxi is. And you just shoot it a couple of times, set it on fire. And then blow it up. If you're not going to do the snipe, then just ignore that stall for now and we'll come back to it in a second. So this is the second stall in Staunton, but it will be our first if you don't do the snipe. Then you head northwest, and there's just one to your south. Again, remember, if you only have limited rockets because of you didn't get 30k ammo, don't rocket all of these stalls. Just use grenades instead, because you still want rockets for SAM, which is the mission after this. So don't use all of your rockets now. Obviously, if you have 30k, it doesn't matter. So this is Chiva's last stall, but it wouldn't be his last one if it was for, you know, if he wasn't doing the snipe. So instead of going west here, what you would do is this, after you shot this, it would be 6 out of 9, and then you would just go east and shoot it with a rocket or a grenade. If you weren't doing the sniping, that would be 7. And then you just hop across the bridge. Shivu goes so fast that he actually gets ahead of the cycle. And then once you get down the bridge, you just turn right, go off it, across the grass. And there's a stall here. You shoot it from here. Might need to get a bit closer if you're using grenades. Then you can just hop across this ramp, back onto the road. So you're seeing another weather skip there, if you're wondering what the replays are for, because it's 59 minutes past the hour. Then here you just go up north, to the west, and then it's just at the hospital. And then you go and grab the dodo, as I mentioned before, if you were doing car baits. So that's all of them. And Chivu's gonna mega jump instead of driving, because you can mega jump all the way because you're like falling so much. You slow down your momentum and you don't take nearly as much damage. Again, if you're concerned with mega jumps, if you're not super confident with them, then you can just drive here, drive over the hill and into the airport with the Banshee. So now takeoff. This is just the it's the construction site again. So exactly the same as before. And then this is the last mission where you need rockets. So make sure you have at least one, because we're going to do a strategy here where you can go ahead and shoot it at the dam before you before it gets to its destination, which is a lot faster. So you don't have to touch the grass or anything this time. Really quick, I'm just going to pause to check the references, because people have different references, excuse me, for this. But I like Chivu's ones the most. I think it's the most consistent in order to get the good shot, because what can happen is you can shoot too early and it'll still work, but the packages can land on the wrong side of a ledge, and it means that you have to walk all the way around one side of the dam, and it loses like 20 seconds. Like, even though you still get the dam shot, it's slower than like an ideal shot. But this reference that Chivu uses, I think, is the best. So give me a second here. Alright, so another quick thing to mention is if you're low on health for whatever reason during these missions, there's an armor pickup that you can get, which is really convenient to do on this mission. It's just near Liberty Campus, up a set of stairs. If you look on a map, I'll show you real quick. If I just give me a second. Armor locations. GTA 3. So it's this one here. I don't know how well you can see. This one right here on Liberty Campus. It's just up a set of stairs. Because obviously you're right next to like the construction site here, and you can just go out and grab it and then set off and go to the dam, which is really convenient. But if not, then you're good to go to just continue like he's doing. So you want ideally a car. Not necessary, but it's just faster to pick up stuff. And then you can position the dodo. So there's two different takeoffs you can do here. One of them is to the east, which is harder but faster. And one of them is to the west. I'll show you both of them. But the idea here is that instead of letting the car go to the airport, the car go to the airport, the plane's cargo going into the airport, you're gonna line up. You're gonna line up a shot and shoot him, just as you would usually, but a lot earlier, and it'll allow the you can collect the packages on the dam. So
the lineup is, as you can see, he lines up, so he stood on this like crack on the first kind of corner here where the crack is. So he stands a bit further back. There you go. Lines up on the crack, and then looks at this specific pillar here, or the bit of the fence. The way you can know which one is the correct one, because they all kind of look the same, is this little like building here on the other side, because there's two of them, will be like your field of view as far to the right will be just perfectly lined up with the edge of this building. Like it doesn't go any further than this. So you'll know, you'll have like the whole thing just in your sights, and this is the correct one. And then all you do is you just hold W to look all the way up. Like you don't have to aim or anything, just hold W until you're looking all the way up. And then at around 117, it'll come into vision, the plane. As soon as you see it in the bottom left is when you shoot. So you'll see the plane spawn, then he shoots. If you shoot too early, then you can get the packages to spawn on the other side of this ledge. And this is what I was talking about. If one lands on the other side of this ledge, you can grab it. It's not like a mission fail or anything. But you have to run all the way across there to come back and grab the rest of them. So as soon as you see it, maybe wait like half a second and then shoot. But it's better to be too early than too late. Because if you're too late, then you miss it. And you have to go to the airport and do like quote-unquote intended strats. So this is a takeoff that Chivu does, which is like the fast one to the east. Which is like going off that hill. But as you see, you don't really get that much speed. And you can just go right through this bridge, by the way, like the under bit doesn't have any collision. So I'll quickly switch and show you the other way. So this is just one of my streams from the other day, because my PB actually has to go to the airport because I'm fucking bad. But I still haven't been able to beat that PB yet, even though I've been on pace to beat it by like 5 minutes. I've always found a way to kill it somehow. But instead you just go this way to take off, the same way you did during bait. Instead of going to the east and going off that hill. It's a bit slower, but it's much easier in my opinion. You see my epic flying there. But yeah, we'll quickly switch back to Chivu right now. So, back to Chivu, and this is just flying back to the construction site, which again, you've seen like a million times by now. And it's time for the last mission in the game. So, this way that Chivu is going to do the exchange is the fastest way, but I would definitely say that it is probably the hardest way to do it. But of course I'm going to show you it because it's the fastest way. And I'm going to show you a couple of other ways that you can do this mission. So she's going to fly up and then land here. Again, you can like nosedive here, it doesn't matter. So you start the exchange, grab the pistol. You can kill these guys. Open the gate. In you go, there's a little cutscene. You fly off with the dodo. And then take off here. Be sure to not hit any traffic lights. I've done this before. You can take off just on that ridge there. And then what you need to do is you need to slow down immediately here, because otherwise you'll be going way too fast. And then you want to go down as far as you can to trigger these guys. If these guys don't trigger, then you've done it wrong. You need to like fly very low and then nosedive into this. Grab the rockets. Then you trigger like the second cutscene by like going onto these stairs. Where Maria is. And Catalina. Then you shoot the helicopter nice and easy. And then you just run to Maria, and once you lose control, that's time. That's GG.
So again, managing to get those guys to spawn and doing that all in one sequence is very difficult. There's a much easier way to do this mission that I'm going to show you, which I do in my PB. But it's ever so slightly slower. So give me a second. So here's my PB. And instead of going and trying to trigger those guys, we're just going to fly straight to where Chivu crash landed. This strat is called the crash change. The reason it's called that is because it does a strat that's kind of weird in the sense that if you do it from a new game, like you click start new game in the menu and you do a full attempt, then it won't crash the game. But if you do it from loading a save, like in practice, your game will crash. So if you're ever practicing this and your game keeps crashing, it means it's a good thing because it means you're doing it right. So you grab the rockets, and the reason this is slower is because it's easier if you just wait for the helicopter to land. And then once it's landed and it's not moving, you want to make a replay that's about, I don't know, 2 seconds long. You see there, I made a replay of me just looking at the helicopter. And then you want to aim, shoot, and when the rocket is about to collide with the helicopter, press replay. Because this heli is usually indestructible at this point. But as if you do it in a replay, it isn't. So you shoot, and then like that. So you shoot, and then just as it's about to collide, press F1, or F3, even. And then just go to Maria, and that's it, GG. So that's what I would recommend most people going for. I feel it's a lot easier, but it's still fast enough that you don't have to deal with all the guys. But in case you lose your dodo or anything for whatever reason, then what you can do is, I think they do it in 100%, so give me a second to find a video. Alright, so this is 100% VOD from Chivu. And what you would do is you would do intended strats, which is just like snipe these first couple of guys. And then instead of like running all the way and shooting all these guys, you can mega jump from the where this is. So you line up with that door, and then you look at you like line up with the back of this door. Then you line and look up with the you see like the gap between the floor and the wall just there, and then you do a jumping mega jump across. And then you grab the rockets, trigger the cutscene. So this is just a backup in case you you don't have the dodo at this point. Kill that guy, shoot the helicopter that takes off, and then wait for it to land. And there you go. That would be GG. Obviously it's 100%, so it's not GG, but yeah. So those should be like all the backups you need. So we'll just watch the outro here. But yeah, so that should be pretty much everything you need in order to complete GTA 3 in just over an hour. If there's anything I forgot to mention, then I'll probably like squeeze them in between. Like I've got a couple of notes of stuff that I forgot to mention in earlier segments when I was recording them. And so there's probably some things I forgot that I'll probably piece in and out every now and again in post-editing, and I'll probably have like a couple of bits of text saying like, you know, correcting myself, something like that. But yeah, aside from that, good luck with your runs. The Grand Theft Auto Speedrun community has a Discord, which I will link in the description, where you can go into the GTA 3 channel and ask any questions if you still need help further on, or maybe with some more advanced strats. Then feel free to ask, of course, or you can just ask in the comments. I'll try and do my best to get back to you. I'll also link my other guides. I've done guides for Vice City, all missions, any percent no SSU, and regular any percent for those. This is my first GTA 3 guide. I don't know if I'll do some of the GTA 3 stuff in the future, but maybe I will. And I'll give you some other links, like for example, the leaderboard for GTA 3, so you can see how all your favorite streamers are doing, including me, of course, all the way down at the bottom of the leaderboard.
And a couple of other things like the videos for my like mega jumps and stuff like that, like a couple of extra guides. But yeah, aside from that, congrats Shivo on your brand new PB, 101.26. Not really new, but whatever. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Good luck.